Yeah, if I had to sum Chris up, I would have to say he's one of those like hard bastards, really. Can I swear?
My last sentence to Mr. Morrell in the days, or no, stop there, go again.
Feeling awkward?
Very awkward.
It's going that way, so it's playing it.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like shit. Can we swap positions?
Everybody's going to be talking in this thing, aren't they, about how marvellous Morrell is.
Yeah.
He's such a grumpy old git.
I think Chris is really, he's sort of created a legacy in the boat club. I think a lot of that has come from him. He's obviously brought the club up, to where it is now, and it's a very prestigious club, and I think a lot of that is down to Chris. The boat club sort of shaped me as a person, really, and I think, it all starts off in year 9, and yeah, Chris has taught me a lot of lessons, and he's gave me the joy that I had in rowing, that I still have now. That all stemmed from him.
If I was being honest, I think the one word I'd describe Chris with would probably be magic. It's just something that you're not going to find for years and years, and there is no one else like Chris, no one else that can do what he's done, and it's just incredible. Yeah, there's not enough words you can use to praise Chris with. I know people have tried over the years, but I think you have to have had the experience yourself of how it works and what he does for people and how he turns people around to understand it. I don't think a word would do it justice. It's more of a feeling and a sense that you take away from the boys' school and away from sort of having Chris as a coach and a mentor in some ways.
I think he's inspirational. He's passionate about everything he does, and he's the reason I got into sport, the reason I stayed in the sport and continued on. He'd be patient. He'd have the time, even though we're in the deep quad and probably not doing the things he was saying. He'd always have the patience to try something else and keep on us. Yeah.
It's the blueprint to success. You've got to work at it, and it was putting that time in, and he was willing to put that time in. It took a lot of time. We were there 3 mornings, early mornings a week. Lunch times, after schools, every day after school. And in the summer, it's every morning, and almost every lunchtime. It's that commitment. You're not going to get success without commitment. And at a place like this, we've got 3 people for probably a Chris Morrell.
When it came to race days, Mr. Morrell was always good at psyching you up for your race. He always knew the right things to say, and he always made you do the best you could be. Whenever you were training and getting ready to go on the water, he'd always have a quick word in your ear, individually and as a team, and he'd always make sure you were up for the fight, up for the challenge. I think coming over the Water Sports Centre all these years later, flying over, doing my dream job, this sort of all started back in year 9 when he sort of gave us that inspiration and taught us to be the best that we can be.
I was a very enthusiastic, very small 13-year-old. And some mornings it was just me and Chris playing some one-on-one basketball because nobody else had turned up.
I think it was my first national schools or national championships, and we were up there, and we had 2 or 3 crews, maybe A, B and C, all racing, so Chris was running around trying to look after all of us, and I remember him, he was cycling off to get some numbers, and as he was cycling up the hill you could just see him turning the crank on the pedals, and then all of a sudden the saddle that he was sitting on sheared off, and he fell directly on top of the seat post, and just yelled in immense pain, and obviously everyone around him was pissing themselves laughing. Even us guys, we were wetting ourselves, and he was in such a bad mood after that. It was hilarious.
Playing golf with him, he's got this sort of perfect way of coaching, hasn't he, actually, and motivating youngsters particularly and stuff, and he's got this thing that says, what's his little phrase, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. That's his little thing. But I wouldn't apply the word legend to many, but I would to him, because it is almost mythical. And when you've got young lads who come back to see us in the school and stuff, they always ask about certain characters. Paul Hunt, they remember Paul Hunt because usually they've had a a board thrown at them by him.
Or a brief course.
Or yeah, a smack. With Morelli, it's always a huge statement of respect, because they all know what sort of commitment he makes, even to this day. Morelli's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. You don't get a commitment to the boat club or outcomes from a boat club like ours that could be better, actually.
And if you take anything from rowing or life in general, you Chris gave huge amounts of time, and I don't think I could maintain that now with sort of a family. I probably couldn't even give the amount of time that he gave when he was sort of my age. But nothing comes in life without hard work, and rowing, and Chris just taught me that, really.
Yeah. We had a really good speech from him before Henley one year, and I think he's not a man of many words, and it's sort of something I learned from him is you don't need to overspeak things or overtalk things, and sometimes it's just something said at the right time or in the right way or the right words is better than talking incessantly. So so like when he gave a pre-race chat before Henley, you'd realise that he had been watching. He had been, even though you'd had different coaches involved at different times, he had actually he knew perfectly well how you rowed and what your strengths were, what your weaknesses were, and how to kind of eke out the best out of you, which was something that I think he's essential in a legendary coach, really. I think the club and Chris are sort of inextricably linked as well. I think it's about the boys and the members, but Chris is a figurehead.
He'll back you whatever you want to do and help you along the way, and so will the school, and that's one of the sort of magical things about it, and that's why magic would be the word I kind of choose to describe the whole situation, really.
But some of the work we did in the quad sculls back then was I'd say ahead of its time, really. We were doing quite a lot of like technical drill work that I still do now, really.
At the time when you're young, you do 3 years there or 5 years, you only see that sort of portion of it, but when you realise he's been there for 30, 40 years, it's really inspirational.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today without Chris Morrell. That's what it comes down to.
Mr. Morrell, usually first thing in the morning is, "How are you, sir?" And he goes, "All right." But he's changed that now. Apparently now it's good, because it's very English to say, "All right." So now, Chris, I'm glad I've taught you one thing in life, but I've learned a lot more from you. In the 12 years I've been here, it's been an honour knowing you, and that Land Rover you've had, and now probably the next one, can go to Africa. The first one went to Iceland. I think you can come visit me in Africa with that one now, and bring some extra diesel. You're going to need it. Cheers.